Hi, this is No Ordinary Voice of Spiritual Ventriloquism. You are listening to Dummy himself. This is Joy's video. Sister Joy. Sister Joy asked a question on a previous video, which I had to remove for obvious reasons a while back. Was why pitch your daughter out the door? Whoever saw that one got a treat. I might bring it up again at some point. Anyway, Sister Joy asked a question for me to explain the position of a wife as not being a servant to the husband. And so I am going to oblige her at this point, and we're going to go ahead and to break tradition here, I'm going to start out in the New Covenant, or the Brit Hadashah, rather than the Torah or the prophets, to start out with. The premise that I'm taking is that we don't really understand fully from a Western English perspective, at least a modern Western English perspective of the role of a wife, the way it's viewed. And this could be a wife. This could be, if you're in a plural situation, it could be a second wife or a concubine, or someone who is, basically yoke themselves to you. And what I'm going to say here is we'll just start right out here. We're going to go to Kepha, first Kepha, Shimon Kepha, chapter 3. And the reason I use the Hebrew name is, as always, I believe that the name Peter is actually a very corrupt name. It is a name that has been invented by Christianity. Peter, it means pater, papa, or pope. And the reason it's written like that is because of the acknowledgement that, the Roman Catholic Church made him the first pope, and he really wasn't. It was Simon Magus. He's buried under the Vatican. Shimon Kepha's ossuary was found in a Jerusalem graveyard, among other New Testament saints, in the late 50s by Roman Catholic priests, I might add. Well, anyway, not to get off track on that, let's talk about the role and the status of a wife as a helper or a helpmeet for her husband. It says here in First Shimon Kepha, chapter 3, it says, "In the same way, wives, be subject to your own husbands." And now this is not polyandry, okay? This is telling wives to be subject to their husbands. So that if any are disobedient to the word, they, without a word, may be won by the behavior of their wives. Okay? So you have a very powerful influence, wife, prospective wife, on your husband. And not that you're, have executive powers necessarily, but you have a proconsul or kind of a go-to person. And I want to talk about that here in a minute. But anyway, having seen your blameless behavior in fear, your adornment should not be outward, arranging the hair, wearing gold, or putting on dresses. Doesn't mean you let yourself go. It doesn't mean that you wear the same dress all week long, or things like that. It's telling you that you should concentrate on the true prize and the true jewel, which is why a man would marry you to begin with, and that is because there's something on the inside that he finds quite priceless in you. And that's the thing you always need to cultivate first in your life. Your blameless behavior in fear. Now that's not a cowarding fear, a submissive fear, a fear of I'd have better toe the line because my husband might cast me out into the desert and let the wolves have me. It's not saying that. It's saying that you should respect your husband. You should honor your husband. So anyway, it says here, but the hidden man of the heart with the incorruptible ornament of a meek and peaceable spirit. See, there you go, which is of great value before Elohim. Now, if it's of great value before Elohim, then a man is going to easily be, what do you say, encouraged and reinforced in his care for you as a woman. Okay? For in this way, in former times, the set apart women who trusted in Elohim also adorned themselves, being subject to their own husbands. Every woman is subject to her husband. As Sarah obeyed Abraham. Okay? In other words, your husband has the ruling executive authority in your relationship. You may have your own money, and it's your money. But really, your husband is the ruler or the executor of even your money, In other words, it's really not for him to take from you, but he can decide whether or not you should do such and such with it, okay? Now, a wise woman doesn't have a problem with that at all. So anyway, says here, Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him master. Okay? Now, that, we're just out. That's Western culture. No. Oh, what? You're talking about me being a slave? No. A master. Calling him master. Every husband is a master of the wife. Their desire is to be their husband. He shall rule over them. It goes all the way back to the first chapter of the book of Genesis. So, anyway, Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him master, of whom you became children, doing good and not frightened by any fear. In other words, there's security in trusting in your husband, in fearing or respecting your husband. There's security in obeying your husband, in recognizing him as your, in the Old Testament, they would call it Baal or master, And there's a lot of wordplay and semantics over, well, I don't like the word Lord because it means Baal. And I don't like the word Baal, because that was a pagan deity. And there were plenty of heathen Baals or Baals. But we're going to use the word master. But then when you look at what the word master means, it refers right back to the same term, Baal or Lord or however, whatever version. So, it's all semantics at this point. So the Hebrews should not embroil themselves in word semantics, but they should learn the language of the Spirit and the language of the Hebrews so that they can communicate more effectively and know what they need to say. So anyway, says, in the same way, husbands live understandingly together, giving respect to the wife as to the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together. This is the key phrase. This is where we're going to get at right here. And being heirs together of the favor of life, so that your prayers are not hindered. Okay? So, this is what I'm saying here, is that husbands, the command to us husbands is that we are to dwell with our wives according to knowledge. Know your wife. Understand your wife. Know what makes her tick. Know her. Don't be selfish. Don't be a selfish, what do you say, an order giver. I mean, you're going to give plenty of those, and they're going to be obeyed, and they're going to be feared. But don't continually just execute the thought in your mind that that's your only purpose in life. Okay? And which we're going to get to this subject of being a servant here, and what that word servant means and what it really means, and what the word wife really means, and why a wife is not a servant. Now, she is a servant in the capacity, as a helpmeet, a helper, or whatever. But I want to get into that here in just a minute, and not quite yet. It says, and giving respect to the weaker
vessel as being heirs together of the favor of life, so that your prayers are not hindered. Okay? Heirs together of the grace of life, of the favor of life. Well, it doesn't say that the husband is going to get a separate heirship for life, and it doesn't say that the wife has got a separate heir of life. Now, if you remain single, then yeah, you are separate. But once a union takes place, it's just like it says here, you are heirs together of the favor of life, together, not apart. Not I'm the locomotive and you're the caboose, okay, on the train, necessarily. So it says, to sum it all up, be like-minded, sympathetic, loving as brothers, tender-hearted, humble-minded. And we need to know how to do this with our own wives. I want to go back and tell you that originally in the King James English, the word, we say help meet or helper, it never really meant servant, okay? And what it meant was the first one to help, okay? And this is why Adam, was, and I believe that Adam was created a disexual, D-I-sexual, meaning that he had both the feminine and masculine attributes within his persona, and that through the first surgical operation in human history, Yah removed the feminine component from Adam and built a woman, a separate woman. Now man is incomplete. He's apart. There's something missing in his physical and mental makeup now, honestly. So now this is the purpose of marriage. Paul calls it the mystery, a mystery. He speaks about marriage in the form of a mystery, you see. And this is why when a man will leave his father and mother to cleave to his wife, why he's coming back to re-identify, to reacquaint himself, and to reacquire the part of himself that was missing, because without that component, he's not complete. And that is why he needs the help. Yah intended this to be this way. This is for a reason. He was never intended to be alone. He was never intended to dwell as a disexual. But yet Yah had a greater thing in mind, and he built a woman out from the man, then yoked the two back together in the marriage, and now he is complete, and she too is complete in him, just like the New Testament says. And now are ye, bride of the Messiah, complete in him. Okay? All right. Now, the word servant, or I should say help me, a lot of times has been translated helper. And in the English, it never meant servant, slave, somebody, you just sleep with your slave. It never meant that. It meant the help, the person to help. Not a helper like, you have a factory or something like that and you got your helper running it, It's not like they're hired to do a job, but you are being, you're being helped. There's someone there to support you. Someone there who's got your mind. This is what men want. Men want their women's minds and understanding to be conformed to their will. Okay? And when they are conformed to their will, then the woman has release and security from all of her insecurities, and she can effectively build up that man. Yes, believe it or not, women have a very powerful force in the home, and also helping their husband achieve the level of greatness that he was foreordained or predestined to achieve. I don't really want to quote a secular source, but I will. And it was from a woman who wrote the book Atlas Shrugged. And the woman's name was Ayn Rand. Now, Ayn Rand was a Fabian socialist, but she deplored homosexuality, called it a mental disease and a scourge, and a completely arbitrary to anything that would be even considered normal or God intended or Yah intended. Okay? And this is what she had to say. And the woman may have been a secular, she may have been a Jezebel, she may have been many things. I'll leave that up to all the other critics out there who know better than me. But one thing she said is true. And to an extent, you don't want to impede the relationship with the Messiah. But this was the statement that she said. She said the ultimate expression of a woman's femininity is in hero worship. In other words, she can worship a man. And I mean, that means make herself available to that man. Willingly make herself available to that man. But now, man, you have to be a man that is worthy of that kind of submission. You have to be a man who is worthy of that kind of attention and that kind of help. You follow me? You understand what I'm saying? Just nod your head. Okay? It's really not that hard to figure out. Now, a woman who's a Fabian socialist, who is basically, a Jewish woman or whatever, a Rothschild's, affiliate, can come to those conclusions. And yet we as Hebrews cannot do that, or whatever flavor you are, then obviously somebody hasn't spent much time cracking their book. But anyway, the woman was created for the man to help him. And that means to be a help, to be the first to help, the one that's behind you, okay? The one that upholds you, the one who develops and implements your desires, your dreams, your ideas, your innovations. And she makes those things work. Now, we're going to find that out here in the book of Proverbs, chapter 31. Okay? It's a famous, virtuous woman. And no, I'm not imbibed, but I am drinking some cheap beer while I'm sharing this video. So, bottoms up. Anyway, the words of the sovereign Lemuel, a message which his mother taught him. What, my chosen? And what, chosen of my womb? And what, chosen of my vows? Do not give your strength to women. Stop right there. Okay? A man should always give his strength only to the Most High. Okay? You don't give away your strength to a woman. It means you don't acquiesce, you don't capitulate, and you don't, give her executive privileges that you yourself should be doing. Do not give your strength to women, nor your ways to wiping away sovereigns. Not for sovereigns, O Lemuel, not for sovereigns to drink wine. All right? And that means to be constantly drinking wine. Nor for princes to desire strong drink. Okay? Now, how do you know when somebody's drunk? Okay? This is how you know right here. Lest they drink and forget what is inscribed. In other words, lest they forget the law. Okay? Now that's drunk. And if that's the case, then there are millions of people who never drink a drop, and they have completely, utterly blasted their mind to the point that they can't even honor the Torah. It's called, we're not under that law. The law has been done away with. That was Old Testament. We're New Testament people. We're New Testament Christians. You see, drunkenness. You drank from the filthy cup of the whore of religion, and now you can't even acknowledge that the law is holy, just, good, spiritual. Okay? And what will you do when you forget the law? Well, you will pervert the right of all the afflicted. Give strong drink to him who is perishing. In other words, hey, might as well give them strong drink. They're perishing. It might be enough to pull them out of it. In other words, sometimes you just got to say stuff to people to snap them out of their pattern of self-destruction. Okay? And wine to those embittered in being. In other words, if you already see somebody who's embittered in their being, who has a heavy heart, who's sorrowful, why do you feel like you need to pile on? Why do you think that your criticisms are going to change the course of that person? It's called discernment. You don't give strong drink to somebody who's sorrowful, who has a heavy heart, to those who are embittered in their being. Your piling on isn't going to add anything. So let him drink and forget his poverty and remember his trouble no more. In other words, do you have a word in due season? And how good is it? Okay? Open your mouth for the dumb. Most people can't really speak for themselves. Some daysman has to be there. Somebody has to be an intermediary. Somebody has to stand in the gap and open their mouth in the cause of all the sons of the departed. Open your mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and needy. Okay? This is your job, King. Okay? And if you lack skills in doing this, then maybe you need one of these. Who does find a capable wife? For she is worth far more than rubies. In other words, a good woman, a virtuous woman, a capable wife, someone who is able to be an asset to you is worth more than all the money you could ever earn. The heart of her husband shall trust her. Okay? In other words, he can say something and it's done. There's no, and he also knows that she's not going to turn around and gnash on him whenever he's gone. So, and he has no lack of gain. In other words, this man's got everything he needs if he's got one of these women. A capable wife. He has the foundation for greatness. She shall do him good and not evil all the days of her life. It's in her heart. A capable woman will always do the right thing for her husband. She may have some hiccups on some minor things, but well, when it comes down to it, getting the job done, she'll always be there. She shall seek wool and flax, and with delight she works with her hands. I'm going to stop right there. Men, do you know what makes her happy? Do you know the things that she's interested in? Most of you probably do. If you know that, then don't ignore that. You ignore that at your own peril. If your wife is interested in something, you supply that. You cultivate that. Now you need to direct it too. You need to put up the bumpers and the no passing and the slow down and all that stuff on her. But you do not ever, one, you don't ever ignore your wife's delight, and you never, allow that wife to go unmanaged. Okay? And I'll just leave it at that. The fact that you are taking interest to want to be an executive in things that she delights in without choking her and smothering her to death shows that you really truly care about what she thinks and what she loves. Okay? All right? So that's important. So she delights with her hand. She shall be as the ships of Tarshish. Okay? And what that means is you are going to become wealthy when you do that. She brings in her food from afar. She also rises while it is still night. Okay? When it's not convenient for anybody to do anything, she's always taking the lead. Also provides food for her household. And what is lawful for her girls. In other words, and that's also translated, this is Messianic translation, but that's also translated maidservants, which could also mean concubines or sister wives. You have lead wives and sister wives. So, she shall also consider a field and buy it. Okay? Sounds to me like she's more than capable. She can conduct her own real estate transactions. Okay? And from her profits she shall plant a vineyard. She shall gird herself with strength and strengthen her arms. She shall taste when her gain is good, and her lamp does not go out by night. She's the hope of the home. She's a hope of the culture. She's the one that adds, and institutes the culture that is dictated by the man. She develops that culture in the home and makes it a living culture. So, she shall stretch out her hands to the distaff and shall hold the spindle. She shall extend her hand to the poor, and she shall reach out her hands to the needy. In other words, she's showing people what they need to do to become successful as well in whatever it is that they need. She's very benevolent and willing to extend, welfare, I don't say a welfare, but a assistance to the needy. But at the same time, she's also instructing, because you can't continually always be handing out, because as long as you're handing out, there's always going to be hands out. You following me? You eliminate the hands being out by teaching people how to be productive, not only with their hands, but also in their minds. Okay? So, she is not afraid of snow for her household, for all her household is dressed in scarlet. In other words, they've got everything that they need to stay warm. They got everything that they need to be a functioning tribal family. Okay, we're going to talk about that some more too down the road. She makes tapestry for herself. Okay, so she doesn't go around looking like a ragbag all the time. She is dressed in fine linen and purple, which is royal colors and colors of purity, colors of wealth. Her husband is known in the gates. Why? Because of her. And they think he's a great man. How'd you land that fish? Man, what'd you use? A spinner bait? Top water plug? What? How you get one of them? Her husband is also known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. Okay? The gate is the place of judgment. She shall make fine linen and sell them, and she shall have girdles for the merchants. She's not letting any grass grow under her feet. Strength and splendor are her garments, and she rejoices in time to come. She shall open her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the Torah of loving commitment. She watches over the ways of her household. She is a manager. Shift superintendent, if you will. And does not eat the bread of idleness. In other words, she's not running from house to house gossiping. Her children shall rise up and call her blessed. They love their mother. Her husband too. And he praises her. Why? Because she's making him rich. Not just monetarily. That may or may not ever really come. For him, obviously, if you cultivate her, she'll do well without you. Even without you, in spite of you. So, but her dedication and her love and her energy is all directed toward the Shevet Bet Av, or the house of the father, to the tribal or the village head. So, anyway, it says, many daughters have done nobly. Okay? There are a lot of good women out there. Good women. Faultless. Blameless. Okay? But you have risen over them all. Love, okay? In other words, this one stands out. If you take all of this society and you garner out the best of the best, even among the best of the best, there's going to be the best. Okay? And she's only going to be for one. So, and then when she finds her place, then there's another best of the best. Because you can't follow an example, sisters, and of a woman. You cannot follow an example of a woman who's great, who's mighty, who's excelled above them all, and not be better for it yourself. Okay? So it's only in your interest, in your best interest, cleave to those whom you can yield and dedicate your souls to for instruction as far as women go, mothers and whatnot. So it says, love is deceptive and prettiness is vain, or loveliness is deceptive and prettiness is vain, because it's only the outward adorning is spoken of in Shimon Kefa 1:3. A woman who fears Yahweh is to be praised. Okay, this is a command from a woman who is of great authority. Okay, in a royal household. Give her the fruit of her hands. It's her due. And let her works praise her in the gates, which is where her husband sits, among the great and mighty and noble of the land. Well, this is not a servant, a slave that you sleep with. This is someone who is always going to be there through thick and thin, one who will never leave you and never forsake you. Okay? And that is the kind of woman every man should have. Okay? But only if you're worthy. I'm going to go back to that secular humanist woman. But only one who is worthy of her. Okay? And no one has spoke on that level as much as Pastor Dowell has. So anyway, no, a woman is not a man's wife, is not a slave that he sleeps with, a servant in the sense of, I have the help, that you just do my bidding and, and whatnot. First of all, you don't even have to do that. They're already there available. You already know it. So if you need something or you want something done, all you have to do is say. All you have to do is say it. Your position as a master or a Baal or a lord of your house is never in question in the mind of a woman like that. She already knows.
And her life and her livelihood and her security is in where she adds to you and becomes an asset to you. And likewise, you also help her do her job and for her to flourish as a woman. Okay? And, and that's all I got to say. I mean, there are parameters where women just are not to be involved. Instruction and public assemblies and things like that is never acceptable. It's never been in the mind of Yah for that to be. But other than that, in the home, it is the woman who wields some of the greatest influence of the development of the culture of the home. So there's a lot of things I need to change, and a lot of things we all can change. Hopefully this video has helped out, has given some semblance of sanity in an insane world. And again, I guess we'll see. If you enjoyed it, leave a comment below, like, dislike, unsubscribe, subscribe, or whatever. And have a good night. Shalom.